The last train to nowhere. The snow fell in thick, relentless sheets across the abandoned railway platform, each flake a whisper of the chaos that had consumed their world. Anna clutched her teddy bear tighter as her father, Dmitri, held her against his chest, his weathered hands trembling not from the cold but from the weight of what they had left behind. The red jacket of the railway worker caught Dmitri's eye, a splash of color in the monochrome nightmare that had become their reality. The man was trying to organize the growing crowd of refugees, his voice barely audible over the howling wind that swept across the desolate platform. "The next train won't come for hours," the worker shouted, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "We need to keep moving, find shelter in the old station house." Dmitri's mind raced back to 3 days ago when the sirens first wailed across their small town of Belivods. The evacuation orders came swift and merciless, 20 minutes to gather what you could carry, leave everything else behind. He had grabbed Anna from her bed, still in her pajamas, wrapped her in his old military coat, and they had joined the river of humanity flowing toward the railway station. Behind them, the orange glow on the horizon wasn't the sunrise. It was their world burning. Anna stirred in his arms, her small voice barely a whisper. "Papa, when are we going home?" The question cut through him like the winter wind. How do you tell a 6-year-old that home no longer exists? That the house where she took her first steps, where they celebrated her birthdays, where her mother used to sing lullabies, was now nothing but ash and memory. "Soon, little star," he lied, the words tasting bitter on his tongue. "We're going on an adventure first." The crowd around them was a tapestry of desperation. Old Mrs. Petrova from the bakery sat on her suitcase, tears frozen on her cheeks as she clutched a photograph of her late husband. The Volkov family huddled together, their teenage son trying to be brave for his younger siblings while their parents whispered urgent plans in hushed tones. Everyone had their story, everyone had lost something. But they all shared the same haunted look in their eyes, the look of people who had been torn from their roots and cast into an uncertain future. The railway worker in the red jacket approached their group. Up close, Dmitri could see he was young, perhaps barely 20, with kind eyes that had aged years in the past few days. "Sir," the worker said, addressing Dmitri, "we're trying to organize families with small children. There's a heated waiting room in the old part of the station. It's not much, but it's warmer than out here." Dmitri nodded gratefully. As they walked through the crowd, he caught fragments of conversations, people sharing rations, offering comfort, strangers becoming family in the face of catastrophe. It was remarkable how crisis stripped away all pretense, leaving only the raw humanity that connected them all. The waiting room was a relic from Soviet times, its propaganda posters faded and peeling, but the radiators still worked. Dmitri settled Anna on a wooden bench and unwrapped his coat from around her. She was still clutching her teddy bear, a small brown thing named Mishka that had been her constant companion since she was 2. "Papa," she said, looking up at him with eyes that seemed far too wise for her age, "the other children are crying. Are they scared too?" Dmitri knelt beside her, smoothing her tangled hair. "Yes, little star, they're scared. We're all scared. But you know what makes people strong?" Anna shook her head. "Taking care of each other. Even when we're afraid." As if to prove his point, an elderly woman approached them. She was thin and frail, but her eyes sparkled with warmth. "Excuse me," she said to Anna, "but I have something that might help." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small wrapped candy. "Would you like this? My granddaughter loved these before." Her voice trailed off, but she managed a smile. Anna looked at her father, who nodded encouragingly. She took the candy with a shy "thank you," then surprised everyone by breaking it in half and offering a piece back to the woman. "For your granddaughter," Anna said simply, "when you see her again." The woman's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled and accepted the gift. It was a moment of grace in the midst of devastation, a reminder that even in the darkest times, human kindness endured. Hours passed. The crowd grew larger as more refugees arrived from surrounding towns. Stories spread through the waiting room like wildfire. Some had walked for days, others had escaped in the middle of the night with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Each tale was a testament to resilience, to the unbreakable human spirit that refused to surrender even when everything seemed lost. A commotion outside drew everyone's attention. The railway worker in the red jacket burst through the door, his face flushed with excitement and relief. "A train is coming," he announced. "Not the regular passenger service, but a freight train that's been converted to carry people. It's not comfortable, but it will take us away from here." The waiting room erupted in activity. People gathered their belongings, parents called to their children, the elderly were helped to their feet. In the midst of the chaos, Dmitri felt a strange calm settle over him. They had made it this far. Whatever came next, they would face it together. As they filed out onto the platform, Anna tugged at his sleeve. "Papa, will Mama be on the train?" Dmitri's heart clenched. Anna's mother had been visiting her sister in the capital when the crisis began. They had lost contact days ago, and Dmitri had no way of knowing if she was safe, if she was even alive. "I don't know, little star," he said honestly. "But wherever the train takes us, we'll find a way to look for her." The train approached through the swirling snow, its headlight cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. It was old and battered, cars that had once carried grain now fitted with makeshift benches and heating. It wasn't much, but to the refugees on the platform, it was salvation. The railway worker helped them aboard, his red jacket a constant presence in the chaos, guiding people to safety with the dedication of someone who understood that in moments like these, every life saved was a victory against the darkness. As the train lurched into motion, Dmitri held Anna close to the window. She pressed her face against the cold glass, watching the ruins of their world disappear into the snowy night. "Where are we going, Papa?" "I don't know," Dmitri admitted. "But we're going there together." The train carried them into the unknown, a steel lifeline connecting their devastated past to an uncertain future. Behind them lay everything they had ever known. Ahead lay possibility, the chance to rebuild, to heal, to hope again. In the rhythm of the rails, in the warmth of strangers who had become family, in the quiet courage of a little girl who shared her candy with a grieving grandmother, lay the seeds of survival. They were refugees now, displaced and dispossessed, but they carried with them something unbreakable, their humanity, their capacity for love and kindness even in the face of unimaginable loss. The train thundered through the night, carrying its cargo of hopes and dreams toward whatever tomorrow might bring. And in the arms of her father, with her teddy bear clutched tight, Anna finally fell asleep, dreaming not of the home they had lost, but of the home they might yet find. The last train to nowhere had become the first train to somewhere new, a journey not just across the frozen landscape, but through the depths of human endurance toward the possibility of redemption. In the end, they discovered that home wasn't a place you could lose to fire and war, it was something you carried within you, in the bonds that held you together even when everything else fell apart. The red jacket disappeared into the crowd of passengers, but its wearer's kindness rippled through the train car, inspiring others to share what little they had, to comfort the frightened, to hold space for hope in the midst of despair. And so they traveled on, refugees bound not by tragedy but by the unshakable belief that morning would come, that stories could have new beginnings, and that sometimes the end of one world was merely the first chapter of another.